Can our words make us rich?
They certainly can make us poor.
The pursuit of money is perceived as evil.
Money without value is a fantasy.
You've put time and place for it on your calendar.
One penny more and I'm totally evil?
They're both things that can be very destructive or very helpful in our life.
When someone has purpose and lives that purpose, it's sexy as hell.
NFL players report financial hardships within 2 years after retiring.
Because they're amazing at the game of football and they're horrible at the game of money. But cash is king because cash rules everything around me.
Oh man, I'm too white for this.
Do the things you hate so that one day you can live a life that you love when you're too old to actually enjoy it.
Okay, Garrett, can our words make us rich?
Well, they certainly can make us poor.
Okay.
You know? And look, if you think of all the memes in society, if you think of all the clichés around money, if you think of all the phrases, the things to think about is, I think this: words, cast, spells.
Okay.
And so if you think of like most of what's talked about money, money has like a bad reputation. It needs money. Actually, I think like needs a better agent or like a marketing firm.
Yeah, a PR firm.
It's like they need an overhaul, because if you just went through documentaries with the word money, it's like dirty, filthy, stinking.
Yeah.
It's like all this negativity. And so it's this really weird place where people feel like money's bad, wrong, or evil, yet they want more of it. So it leaves them really kind of tormented and torn. And this is part of why a lot of people kind of not quite sure how to handle money, why they have a bad relationship with money, why they think that money is going to do something it was never intended to do. Hey, money, make me happy. Now, I think that money is amazing at renting happiness for us, for sure. And a lack of money can be a huge problem for people not to be happy.
Yeah.
For certain. But there's times where I've been ridiculously happy with and had a lot of money, and those are really epic times. And I've been really happy without a lot of money because I was dating my wife and in college and having tons of fun with my friends, and I didn't have a ton of cash, but I was able to enjoy the moment. And then there was this time in my life where I was chasing money to the point where I couldn't enjoy the moment. And there was like these bouts and moments of like being happy when it came in. But there was also this time of being confused from hearing my grandma say, you know, they'll do anything for money and they're bad people because of how they operate with money, and thinking, oh, well, I love my grandma. She's one of the nicest people in the world. And like, is having too much money going to be a problem? And who decides how much is too much? And so, you know, and then there's just all these like things that people say all the time. So I started doing this thing where I just had this notebook, right? It's this little tiny, if you remember these like little
spiral
memo
notebook.
pads, right? Just a red, and it had the word memo on it, and I would flip it, and I just started capturing like, what are the phrases around money?
Like negative or like just any
like,
phrase?
Phrase, right? And so you and I did this project together that we call the money rap.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because I thought, what do people want? They want to see a white 47-year-old man rap.
Yeah.
You know?
It was on everyone's bucket list.
But the way it started was I was rehearsing for the comedy special, The American Ream, that I did on, you know, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And I would be in this room sometimes. I'd have a teleprompter in front of me, and I just would put down in alphabetical order, like all of the phrases, all of the songs, all the negativity. And I'd read it really fast, and people were like, oh, that was kind of Carlin-esque, which it wasn't, but it was friends, so they're generous. But eventually, my friend Marcus started to help me like orchestrate it in a way that was more poetic, and it even stayed very alphabetical, but it was insane because what we started with was these juxtapositions, right?
Okay.
Which means you've got on one side this belief, and on the other side, the complete opposite belief.
Yeah.
Right? So if one of the belief is, you know, like money's the root of all evil. Right? Okay, that's one side of it. But then on the other side is money makes the world go around.
Gotcha.
So does that mean that evil makes the world go around? I mean, you know,
that puts you in a precarious situation.
Money can't buy you love. Right? I hear that. But on the other side, you'd hear that, you know, time is money.
Okay.
So money can't buy you love, but time is money. Well, which one is it? Like time helps you get to know someone.
Yeah, it provides you love.
It's like that you may love, or it might be that money doesn't grow on trees. Right. My dad used to tell me that we have a money tree. Wait till the money tree comes in, and wait till it blooms. And he was just bullshitting me. But but if money doesn't grow on trees, but it takes money to make money. Well, part of it is like we're in a digital world, so it's even more confusing. But the other side is like, isn't money like cotton? Is there a cotton tree? Like money doesn't grow on trees, or it takes money to make money. Well, how do you make money on money if it's kind of the chicken the egg argument? Which came first, right? Did someone build a printing machine and that's what it was? And it's like all these kind of confusing factors. So like people believe two things that are so opposite that they feel that they're in like a tug of war.
Yeah,
like
you're in this conundrum.
Like which one is it? There's all these confusing statements. And so that's why, you and I created this money rap, and we filmed for my comedy special. And as I just was capturing these over the years, and I was like, oh my God, look at all these things that we say about money.
Yeah.
Look at all the phrases, look at the movies, look at the song titles. And so there's so much of our language, so much of what we speak can actually create this ceiling of limitation. It can actually, that we speak poverty. It could repel money. It could repel people. And it might be that we actually sabotage it because of a false belief. And so if we're in a juxtaposition, I call this a dilemma, right? What's the dilemma? Well, I believe that if you have too much money, that's bad. But how much is too much? 1 penny more and I'm totally evil?
Yeah, and if you don't know, it's like the pursuit of money,
and who decides?
Always is perceived as evil. Yeah.
So you can see how someone might actually be sabotaging their success because they want to be a good person. And if they think somehow money is evil, even though, we know it's basically the love of money is root of all evil is something that's biblical. What I would say is when we choose money over people, when we use people and love money, instead of seeing money as a byproduct of value, I actually see that money can be a way that we can understand humanity. What do I mean by that? Is if someone creates value for me, I can reward that value with dollars. That dollars can say, thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for what you provided for me.
Yeah.
Here's this money. So that money is simply just a store of value. It's a receipt that I'm saying, I'm going to give you this as a receipt of the value that you provided for me. Now, if my whole mindset, if my whole belief is that money is something that is scarce, that money is something that is risky, that money is something that is evil. If I think of any of this and I start thinking, you know what, the best way to have money is to actually reduce humanity. What do I mean by this? What if all I'm looking for is the cheapest and I'm willing to negotiate it down to someone like that's willing, like maybe they're in a desperate situation, they're doing something and they're not really being rewarded. It's a survival mechanism. I'm actually reducing humanity by looking for the smallest amount that I could possibly pay someone.
Yeah.
Versus there's someone by the last name Lambs. He had a thing called Lambs 10%. Very wealthy man. And he said he just always paid 10% over. So if they was building a home, he would pay the contractor 10% more. And that person felt taken care of.
Yeah.
That person felt
they put him as a priority. Yeah.
And there was a certain priority. Yeah. Right. And so it's kind of like a vote with our dollar. But the thing is, if we're confused as to what a dollar is or what money is, and we have all these belief systems inside that came and we heard it through a meme, we saw it as a cliche, we, believed it because that's what someone said or because we had a difficult circumstance for a minute. And then we start going, well, that person has too much. And so then we have to look at this breakdown. So let's look at this in two ways. Scarcity, which is the first four letters, or SCAR.
Interesting. I wonder, is that the etymology of scarcity?
Or we have abundance.
Yeah.
Right? And, that sounds like a bun dancing. So if I put my hair in a man bun and dance around,
is that also the etymology?
Yeah, so this is like very this is scientific that I'm covering here. But the thing is, if we're in scarcity, we believe that money, there's only so much. We believe it's limited. We may believe that it's evil, that it's bad.
From the scars that we received in our past.
We may think that if someone has it, it's because they deceived, right? Because they were evil, or they coerced, right? Like right now, there's this big debate of these comedians that went to, perform in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah. And they got
You're like, oh, how could you take that dirty, stinking money, that filthy
blood money?
These are the same people gassing up their vehicles, by the way.
Yeah.
And they have the oil that was which came from over there.
Which for the past few years primarily came from overseas, yeah.
And so, but scarcity a lot of times is where you see jealousy, where you just see people that aren't aligned with principle, right? Because basically what's happening is they have this false belief. And because of that false belief, they might start to hoard money. They might start to scrimp. They might start to think, how can I save more at the expense of another? I don't care what the benefit is, but what if I see that dollar as a vote of someone's value? Well, in abundance, I might look at it more like, hey, money is that receipt. So what is the value that is created for it? And that if it's a receipt, it's evidence of value creation, or it's evidence of service, or it's evidence of solving a problem, right? It's a totally different viewpoint that can completely liberate someone's mind. But again, if they're just so indoctrinated that, dirty, filthy, stinking rich. And, like if we look at some of the money rap, you'll just see how much of these words around money are negative. How many of these cliches are not something that's uplifting, positive, or about exchange or connection or service. It's all this kind of very restricted, limited mindset that puts money inside of a box that says, hey, if you have too much of this, number one, it's because you're not philanthropic enough.
Yeah.
Right. Number two, it's because you took from someone else. You took the money. They believe in a finite pie, and they think that, oh, if you have too much money, too much is actually part of that conversation. Then what about those poor people that didn't get something? And the thing is, somehow they give all of the power to money, right? They say that money is power. That's one of the things, money is power. But the thing is, money isn't power. If money were power, we'd be the healthiest country in the world, in the United States, but we're not, because we put more money into our healthcare system than anyone else.
But we're the sickest.
We have corruption, right? We have what I would call a lack of responsibility, right? We have profiteering with our food, right? Where we have chemicals, and I mean, we can just go off forever on this, but if money can solve the problem, it's not actually a problem. But money can't solve a problem if we're not considering human life value, if we're not considering that it comes from service and solving problems, it comes from value creation. And so money without value is waste. Money without value is corruption, right? That's where you might have that, but that might be the exception to the rule. And people are making that the rule. Oh, if they have money, they've done something wrong. Yeah. The reality is, if they have money, they probably did something right. And sure, maybe they married into it. That could have happened. Maybe they inherited it. Okay, agreed. Maybe they, won the lottery, but are probably going to lose in life. Yeah, those are some maybe things that are the hacks and shortcuts and luck and that kind of stuff. Okay, but to keep money, to keep it, we have to build a skill. We have to build a strength. We have to build a stewardship. And if we stop seeing money as luck, or we stop seeing money as coercion, and simply see money as a byproduct of value, then we can start to look at what are these cliches, and are they actually serving us or sabotaging us? We're speaking poverty into the world if we're saying that person's bad, evil, wrong, they did something, what did they steal, how did they get it? That's something that, hey, there's a finite pie and they took a bigger piece and that piece should have been mine, so the government should reallocate it. We're looking at this in New York City right now. Yeah. With Mangiani, right? He's basically saying, hey, we're going to tax certain people in certain neighborhoods a whole lot more. We're going to start giving things out for free. They're going to redistribute wealth. Now, here's the problem with that. If we're just looking at wealth as money, as the main measuring stick, we're not seeing it as skill. We're not seeing it as value. We're not seeing it as stewardship. So this is why, if we reallocated 100% of the money in the world to put it equally in everyone's hands, how long do you think it would take for it to go right back where it was?
Probably 3 years.
Because it's skills.
Yeah.
Because it's value. Because it's a thing called stewardship. Right? It'd be like saying, hey, we're going to Garrett, we're going to let you enter the bodybuilding competition right now. I was like, well, I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not doing the right poses. I haven't eaten the right foods and done the right workout.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, money without work is a lie. Money without value is a fantasy. And this is where money gets corrupted. Is that people start thinking, if I only had enough money, well, what would you do with that money?
Yeah.
How would you grow that money? How would you invest that money? What kind of investor are you? What kind of skills do you have? How would you increase your ability to deliver value to others? Would you use that money to hire other people, and would you use that money to gain new capability? Or would you use that money to spend? See, if the money's just like a fantasy of what I would spend it on, the money will be gone and you won't know how to recreate or recover it. That's the issue. And part of this lesson is just because of the belief systems we have that are reinforced through the language and vernacular that is plaguing people's minds. So when people say it's just semantics, when it comes to money, it's not just semantics.
Yeah.
Because all wealth, I argue, is built through conversation.
Well,
is that conversation one of scarcity or abundance? Is it one of victimhood? Or is it one of value? Is it one of complaining? Or is it one of creating? Is it like, can you see the patterns here, you know? And once you see the patterns, you realize if we choose our words in a way that inspires, that uplifts, that is gratitude, that is complimenting someone. And the thing is, what I find is when people are in scarcity, they have almost no ability to compliment. Because if they told someone a compliment, they think that somehow it's a lesser of them. They can't even see it in them because they're so trapped.
Yeah.
They're so blocked and blinded, right? They can't see up here because it's all this misinformation. It's all this myth. It's all of this language that basically repels wealth instead of helps them receive it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the stat with, I think it's like 78% of NFL players report financial hardships within 2 years after retiring.
Yeah, I think it's 2 to 3 years they go bankrupt.
Yeah.
You know, and why? Because they're amazing at the game of football and they're horrible at the game of money.
Yeah.
Right? So one is earning money. So if we look at that, making money is one skill, right? And it might be because you're a professional athlete. You know, it might be because you have a different profession that you can bring value. It might be, you know, anything from a salary. It could be an entrepreneur, right? It could be a number of factors that making money, and that's a certain skill. And some people's skill is patience and being willing to tolerate terrible work, and they trade their time for money, and it's very finite.
Yeah.
Right? It's very much limited as to what they could do. But the second skill is how do you keep your money? Right? And so keeping your money is a few factors. One, how do you create automation? So how do you pay yourself first? How do you save something off the top? Number two, how do you get efficient with the 4 I's? Not overpay the government, not overpay on interest because you have the right credit score, you have the right, you know, cash flow reporting, you have the right connections, maybe even the right collateral, investments. How do you invest and have less loss, right? Less loss, maybe even less fees, or maybe, you know, it's like you just learn how to protect your downside, right? So that you're keeping more of that money you make. And then insurance, how do you design that so that you have no duplicate coverage or nothing that's an improper structure? And so those 4 I's are a big piece of keeping more you make. So it's the automation, it's keeping more of what you make. It's being able to have visibility with your money. It's about being conscious with your choices and actually having like multiple accounts. Like I believe in having a wealth capture account, which is just automatically paying myself first, a living wealthy account, which is an amount of money that I can go all in on the things that really I feel valuable and make me feel like enjoying my wealth along the way. And then there could be other accounts like an investment or a wealth creation account, right? So all of a sudden we're actually seeing the flow of our money. We're seeing what's going on. We're being more intentional and deliberate with it. And so we're learning how to keep more of what we make by plugging our financial leaks, automating the money that's being saved, and then lowering the risk and mitigating risk over time so that we don't have to start over, so that we don't get overextended. There's people that borrow a ton of money, they buy a house or multiple houses, and then the market changes and they lose all of that.
Yeah.
Or they put money into something they don't understand and it's gone. So that even comes down to knowing our investor DNA, which will kind of be the bridge to the next level. So the next thing is, okay, so we start by learning how to make more money, and making more money and not going bankrupt is a different skill set, because not going bankrupt has a lot more to do with how you keep your money. And I'm not all about budgets, right? You budget if you have bad habits.
Yeah.
You budget if you're spending more than you make. But if you automate your savings and you don't go out of bounds, meaning you don't spend more than what comes in, you're going to be safe. And then you learn how to make more money on your money. Some people skip the step of learning how to keep what they make, go right to making more.
And they just go to investing,
Right.
throw it into stocks, stuff like that.
And what they do is they've been told that high risk equals high return, but it doesn't. It equals a higher chance of losing. And so a lot of times they speculate and gamble. And I'm going to tell you, all the language in the world promotes this. So, and I do in the money wrap, I'm like, because if you're flat broke, you can't bankroll. You know, it's all about the Benjamins, baby, with the big ones, the bones, the buckaroos, the big bucks. It's like getting people to be like, well, I want to play that game. I want the private jet. I want the nice car. And then they get out over their skis because they start to spend more to keep up with the Joneses, to live a higher lifestyle than what they can actually afford. And instead of having their assets and cash flow cover their lifestyle, their active income and even borrowing money to consume creates it. And guess what that does? It creates stress. And then that actually reinforces the anger towards wealthy people when people are struggling. Because they saw the life that was on Facebook. They saw that kind of thing. And then finally, we learn how to grow ourselves. This is the real game. You know, if we can grow ourselves, right, then we can keep our money and keep it growing. But if we grow our money, but we don't grow ourselves, we don't have our investor DNA, you know, if we don't do that, then what happens is we're going to lose. Because let's say we have money and we just happen to be lucky enough to buy Bitcoin early on. And all of a sudden it's worth $10 million, you know, but you're not sure what to do because you don't know anything about business. You don't know anything about creating cash flow. You don't know anything about taxes. You don't have a good financial team. And, you know, maybe on the rise up, you're like, ooh, you know what I should do? I should just buy this really amazing house. And all of a sudden there's a dip and you're like, oh wait, now my Bitcoin's worth 6 million. And I actually got this loan on this house and now I owe $2 million on that. And so I was thinking like I was worth 10, but I'm really, you know, I'm really worth 6, but I also owe this 2. So, and I really can't sell this right now because the interest rates just changed and the market's soft. And then all what you do is you get in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble because you didn't understand money. You thought that money would buy happiness. So you spent it. And if it didn't buy enough happiness, then you borrowed more. And now that rented happiness eventually becomes massive stress because now you have a tax bill that you weren't prepared for. Now you have a home that you have to manage. And when something goes out, you have to fix it. Like I just did the heater in this room. It's so easy for people to spend optimism. Something goes well and they start spending the money because there is no plan. And no plan creates Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law says if you have an increase in income, your expenses will rise to meet or even exceed that with no plan. And so what I'm looking at is, where does that come from? It comes from the words that we use, the conversations we have, the way that we want to show up, the way that we want people to perceive us, and the way we want them to view us. And so all of a sudden, that gets us into our money story, right? And our money story is where we start to use those words and cliches to describe our life. And the first level of that is we start just saying what we think either protects us from an ego standpoint. Hey, people will think I'm great because of what I just bought. Or protects us from a hoarding standpoint. Don't really care what people think. I got to hold on to everything I got because I never know when I could lose it. Then the second layer is what we never speak, only to ourselves. Because see, there's words we speak out loud and there's words we only speak internally. That voice inside, if you're wondering what voice, it's the voice that said, what voice? And sometimes that's some of the most scarcity, abusive, concerning language we ever use that tells us we're not worth it, imposter syndrome, who am I to do this, and all that. And then what's even worse is just because of the way that everybody views things, we have this stuff that we can't even share because it's our blind spot. It's hidden. It's holding us back because of that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Because of that lack of knowledge, because of what someone else told us. Hey, rich people always, rich people never, rich people are bad, rich people are good. There's all of these stories, and they get reinforced through songs. Songs of most rappers are about living this amazing life, doing a bunch of drugs and having sex with a bunch of girls.
Yeah.
Like having all the things, but what's it really like? Well, some of them get shot, and some of them can't hold on to the fame. And
I mean, how many are there singing about their family and the joy of having kids, or
so
like that?
You got to look at, like, a lot of the cliches and a lot of the words are just made up.
Yeah.
But if we clip to some of the money rap, look at even, when I think about
going back to the money rap. So your second section was like there's easy money, even money, smart money, dumb money, old money, new money,
mad money, funny money.
What's kind of like
money, long money.
What was that section about?
So that section is just like, think of all the ways that we talk about money. Old money, new money. That's old money, long-term wealth, been around for a long time. New money, just made it. Maybe a tech bro, or maybe a professional athlete or something. And so all of a sudden it's like a bunch comes in. And so that's another juxtaposition. What's the difference between the two? Yet, sometimes people say, oh yeah, they're lucky they inherited the money. Well, was it luck? Or if they're keeping it, there might be a real skill to it. Or if they're growing, there really might be a skill. I think a lot of people don't understand the pressures that come along with that and the struggles that happen along the way. They just see this snapshot in time and think that's how it always is. And it's, you always get what you want and you're always happy. And then, by the way, those people never feel like they can share their struggles. Because people are like,
who cares?
Who cares about your struggle?
You're rich. Who cares what's going on in your life?
In our country especially, if you're poor, you have all your reasons for it.
Yeah.
And you can get, a lot of empathy and compassion. And if you're rich,
there's no empathy.
F you.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you mess up, we want to take you down.
Yeah.
Like, here we might be on your side. We want to hear the rags to riches story, but once you're rich, now you get put over here, And so this is like, a lot of people are carrying around a lot of pain because they're just afraid to talk about it, because if they talk about it, people are like, who are you to complain? Don't be an asshole. Right?
Yeah.
And so we just have had a society where we expect money to do things it was never intended to do. And it puts so much pressure on it. Like, money does not equal health, because it can help with health, right? Like, I can hire a trainer, I can hire a nutritionist, I can buy better food, I can have less stress if I know that my bills are paid. Yes, it is an essential ingredient.
But you could also have millions of dollars and still eat total garbage.
Right. You could eat terrible, you could not work out, and maybe have too many yes people around you, and end up being in a major problem. And the thing is, all the money in the world can't solve health. Look at what happened to Steve Jobs. Yeah. Again, it can support it. And this is the thing. Money is one of the greatest tools of support. Money is a tool of support, gives you more options. It gives you more choice. It can allow you to tap into other people's expertise, which allows you to collaborate. What's also kind of cool in today's world is we have tools to allow you to store wealth, where in the past you could only display it with what you lived in. But now we have all these financial tools and this amazing technology, things like everything from Bitcoin. I mean, gold's been around for a very long time, to, even just having bank accounts and brokerage accounts and all this kind of stuff. Like, that's a relatively new thing of storing your wealth in financial instruments compared to how long we've been around. And so it also creates a whole different level of conversation and pressure, and creates a lot of these, it's almost like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Well, if someone's got $10 million in their bank account, but they die because they don't turn on the heater in the winter because they're so damn miserly, did it even matter that they had the money?
Yeah.
Right?
True.
It's like, we have to start to understand ourselves. You have to understand yourself. And part of the biggest question is, what do you want? Not what the world tells you.
Yeah, what do you want?
The world tells you the cliches, these things that I'm talking about in the money rap. You could be on the money, in the money, even made of money because money makes the man. Well, made of money because money makes the man. There's people that believe that. Now, where does that really come from? I mean, I think it comes back to before money existed in caveman days. what does money send a signal for? I think it sends a signal for protection. And if, let's say, a woman wants to have a baby, if the breadwinner, whoever the spouse is, has money, it's attractive because it's part of the DNA for us to provide. Mm-hmm. The hunters could go out and bring food. That was their version of making money.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just one ingredient. And this is where I think that people get confused. Like, I think that men are more likely to be fickle and to only care about looks than a woman is. A woman, like, looks is one piece of it.
Yeah.
But it's more about, like,
can they provide?
Yeah. Are you funny and make me, feel good? Can you make me feel safe and taken care of? And, like, money is part of that equation, like it or not. And yet some people think it's the only part of the equation. Let's say at most, maybe it's 1/5 of the equation. Yeah. Unless you're going for a gold digger. They might look past it and be like, hey, I don't care that you're 80. You can provide for me. But a lot of times they want to see a certain level of fitness because that means a good genes for the baby.
Yeah.
When we're going back to like caveman days and having children and that kind of like internal clock that happens, the biological, so fitness is part of it. Social status is also part of it. Why? Because social status, and you can hear this in a lot of the memes, but again, it's getting exaggerated, is like, oh, there's desire. There's also, that can signal fun. It can signal strength. It can signal a lot of things. It's like, oh, there's attention going towards this, right? Yeah. So looks might be part of it as well, because that, again, it's like, well, what are the genes going to be like that get passed on? And, that's part of the attraction. But how many, Weston, I've just seen super hot chicks with super ugly dudes, and I've truly seen them in love because that person is still maybe fairly fit, has a lot of friends, and brings fun to the party. I think of like my friend Linda. She used to work for Mel Brooks, and he was married to Anne Bancroft. And she's like, when Mel would open the key and get home, she knew it was time for fun. Right. And so that fun was a huge part of that attraction. And obviously he had big social status and he had money. And how do you have money? Because he's creating something in the world. And I think when someone has purpose and lives that purpose, it's sexy as hell. And yet most people, our cliches and the memes around money are trying to get people to skip the purpose, skip the fitness. Well, maybe not the fitness, but skip the purpose, focus too much on looks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of skipping fitness and using plastic surgery and stuff like that.
So there's a lot of fakeness here to try to like kind of game the system. But the reality is, like, if you skip purpose, eventually that becomes like unattractive.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem. Why? Because it's, again, like the purpose could lead to safety. It could lead to strength. It can lead to so many things. And again, like these memes, these cliches are about, hey, it's all about the money. It's all about how do I get more money? And then the money can buy the looks. And then like all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's a part of the equation, but it's not the only part of the equation. I always say money is a terrible solo artist, but a great companion.
Yeah.
It's an amazing companion. So if it's part of the scorekeeping, great. If it's the only score to be kept, that's going to be shit.
Yeah. So in your money poem, you have kind of the songs about money, right? More money, more problems, mind on money.
Got my mind on my money and my money on mine. Get your money for nothing and your chicks for free. So, and then I go to the Jerry Maguire, show me the money, right?
Yeah.
And then we think about like, why is money confusing sometimes? Well, I start talking about all the different currencies. There's balboas, euros and francs, kips, krones and kronas, libras, pesos and pounds, drams, dinars, and dollars, right? So you start thinking about all the, if I buy this currency and now when I travel, my dollar's weaker than it used to be, and it's like, that's fairly complicated. You start hearing terms like arbitrage, because it used to be, if they're on a peg system, you might be able to buy a peso, trade it for a franc and back to a dollar and have an automatic gain. Because it wasn't an efficient market, they would peg it. So,
really?
There's like, so you go, oh man, that's confusing.
Yeah.
Right. And so instead of money just being this way we store our value, the unfortunate thing is, if money had like a phone battery, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you're not using it, like I have money in my safe, it's starting to be drained. Starting to lose charge, even if it's not being used.
Yeah.
So if you had $100 that you set aside in 1913, today, that's worth 3 cents.
Jeez.
It's like, oh, the battery went down, being unused. So now you're like, oh, I actually have to do something with the money.
It, yeah.
But like all the memes and cliches make us think that it's easy money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Easy money. It's easy money. Like I always feel like there's always a payoff and a cost, but what's the real cost? Well, sometimes when money's too easy, we take too much risk and then we lose it because we were so passive in it that we didn't even know what we're doing, and then it's gone.
Yeah. So you got the refrigerator section, which is kind of like the biscuits and broccoli, cabbage and clams.
I think it's funny how many things are like money and food.
Yeah.
Damn, you're covering two serious things right there, right? People are thinking about food, they're thinking about money quite a bit.
That's actually interesting. I never thought of that because they're both things that can be very destructive or very helpful in our life, money and food. Then you kind of talk about the banks, right?
Yeah.
You can't take the bank. You can make
bank on it, make bank. Like think about people say that all the time. Can I bank on that? Because why? Banks are the biggest buildings in every city.
Yeah.
It's where the money is. My buddy Marcus helped me to really articulate it, and we still kept it pretty alphabetical. Ka-ching, C-notes, cash and carry, petty cash, cold hard cash, even Johnny Cash. You can cash in or cash out, be cash strapped or a cash cow. But cash is king because cash rules everything around me. Look at how much of this is in culture,
Oh, yeah. How money
even when I was doing my comedy special around money, I started to just put together a playlist of songs about money. Money trees, can't tell me nothing. All these, for the love of money. I mean, there's so many. The Pink Floyd song, there's just like, it's sung about, it's talked about, it's yet something that's so confusing for so many people, because if these juxtapositions are off, if the belief system's not quite aligned, then we might be working but feeling bad for it, and that guilt and shame is actually limiting what we would do. And then we hear other people say something and go, oh, is that really how I am? And I don't want to be viewed that way. And so it's just confusing as shit. Dude, my favorite part of it is where I'm like, as this money rap's happening, it becomes more and more devilish. It's more and more like, and it starts to speed up in certain ways. And it was like, hey, forget White Houses and picket fences, because that's like the old American dream, right? We all want to be high rollers, fat cats, big spenders, jet setters. And then I just start going through all these like terms like the Skrilla and Sawbucks, the stacks and the scratch, the chips, and
Well, what is this? What is Skrilla?
Skrilla is just it's a slang for money.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. Okay. So this is all money slang.
Yeah.
You're too white to know what that word is. You haven't listened to, enough rap.
My buddy, he used to listen to the song, and I remember talking to him. I was like, yeah, man, like spinning cheese. He's like, spinning cheese? And he's like, no, dude, they're saying spending G's in the song. And I was like, oh man, I'm too white for this.
And like, there's all these words, and and as we get further and further towards the end of it, it's like,
yeah, it kind of goes off. It goes off the rails.
Gets really intense. It gets super, and it's like, it's like, because that's the angst that I think people feel, and the greed that comes along, and then all of a sudden it says, "Wake up! This isn't a dream. It's the American ream." Because it's like, if we believe these things, if we say these things, if we live out these things, then we often skip out on the things that are most valuable to us. Like Coco Chanel said, hey, the best things in life are free, but the second best things are really, really expensive.
So break that part down to me about, this isn't the American dream, it's the American ream.
So the American ream is White Houses and picket fences have now been given up for being jet setters and having all the material things and raising the bar, the
Instagram
and having
fame.
Retirement and putting money aside for that retirement, and being dressed in the very best clothes at all times and looking like this life that you don't actually want to have just to impress other people. And that's the ream, is that we do things that we hate and we sacrifice so that one day we'll live a dream. But when we get to retirement, we find out it isn't what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're older than we expected. We have more pain than we expected. Our kids aren't around to go do all the things. You sacrificed so many things in the name of this one day, someday. And when you get there, it wasn't the dream they sold you. That's the ream. And so you go through and justify all this bullshit through your whole life for the one day someday, and that someday never comes, because it habitually teaches you to be in scarcity. And you don't flip a light switch one day and be like, cool, now I'm going to be abundant. Now I'm going to be generous. Now I'm going to do the things I want to do. No, you trained yourself that not to do those. Isn't it weird? Do the things you hate so that one day you can live a life that you love when you're too damn old to actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
And the real dream is knowing what your dream is. What is your dream? What do you want? What matters most to you? Not what will impress other people, but will impress upon you a quality moment, a magical moment, a shared moment. You know, my niece is going to go to Disneyland for the first time. I got to tell you, like, she's into all the princesses and she's so fun that I'm taking off on that Monday and Tuesday. I'm flying in to witness it, because I remember going through that with our kids.
Cool.
When they were meeting Winnie the Pooh the first time, or at Universal meeting Spider-Man for the first time, and how magical it was for them and how exciting it was. I was like, cool, I want to be part of that shared moment. I'll not be working all those 2 days, but you know what? I'll be able to have something that matters even more than a day that I might not remember. I can create magical moments along the way. And that's the thing, is, how do you create magical moments? Well, to me, those are just shared moments. Those are doing more of the things that you love to do, right? And falling in love with the work that you do, with the people that you work with. This is why I think it's great for me to be an entrepreneur. And hey, look, when we built YouTube channel at first, I just built it in a way that wasn't me. Didn't I love it? We had a pretty good trajectory. And then I was like, I abandoned it, because I was like, what do I want? What would I stick to? How would I, and then talking with you, like, how could we do this? And we enjoy spending time together. And I like the format that we've come up with. It's like, that's life I don't want to retire from. That's the dream. The dream life is quarterly retreats with my family, date night every week with my wife, going to concerts and comedy. And even like, I've been going to movies again. I've been to a movie with my dad and with my sons and with my whole family on my birthday. It's like, I'm just saying, how do I just enjoy life along the way? The trips that we take, the days that we have. I'm doing coffee and conversations every morning with my wife. I'm doing vision and visit at night and hitting the hot tub at some of the nights. And so I'm carving out the space for the things that matter today. And it's not lowered the amount that we're doing in our business. It's increased it, because I have a higher quality of life. I have more energy. I'm living my dream. I'm not chasing my dream. Yeah. And that's a big difference.
Well, in an interesting part of just even what you said with like the coffee and conversations, visions and visits.
Yeah. We like, I'm an alliteration guy.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's like, it's something that you've put time and place for it on your calendar.
Yeah. I've carved it out in time and space.
Yeah.
So one thing I know is task lists, right? Tasks, they become overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there's like a never ending amount. But for the things that are important, I just create space. I create time.
Because you have to, because otherwise everything else will take it over.
And I name it to claim it.
Yeah.
Right? I name it to claim it. And then now my wife has that on her schedule. The kids know when the next retreat is. We just had one last weekend. That what day we film, and then the study that we do afterwards. It's like, I'm just inventing my life so that my calendar speaks to who I am and the life and story I want to tell. And when the calendar doesn't do that, I was talking to you before we film it. I'm like, I'm not going to be in the production meetings where you guys are talking about analytics
the technical
and all that kind of stuff. I was like, dude, I'll be on the creative side. And so that's just what I ask. I go, what are the 5 things that I want to do more of? What are the 5 things I want to do less of? That's my 5 and 5. 5 and 5 helps out. But I'm always saying, what's my overall vision? What's the context and that I'm creating? Like, vision is the ultimate, vision is the ultimate way to create value. It tells my brain what's important and what to pay attention to. It's beyond my current reach, so I can communicate and dedicate decades of my life to it without wearing out or wearing down. And when it's bigger than any problem I have, I'll see it through.
Yeah.
But the memes, the cliches, the words often destroy the vision. I can't. I don't know how. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I'm not sure what to do. Instead of saying, what would it take? How could I get there?
Yeah.
Instead of having like positive affirmation type statements and memes rather than the negative ones. Instead of money's the root of all evil, is like value is the root of all money. See, I've just flipped it and it now becomes something that's useful.
Yeah.
And if it's about, anyway, I just think that it's time to pay attention to our semantics.
Yeah.
Matter.
Huh.
Wealth is built through our conversations. When people say conversations are cheap, or they say talk is cheap, only talk that is cheap talk is cheap.
Mm.
When we're committed, when we're complimentary, when we're creating, when we're in momentum, when we speak something powerful, guess what? That's not cheap talk.
Huh.
That's wealth.
Yeah.